Therese, and welcome to this IELTS video on writing task 2 for the IELTS exam. And today we'll be speaking about the conclusion part of your essay. So as we've spoken about before in previous videos, we have an intro in your essay, main body paragraph 1, main body paragraph 2, and then your conclusion at the end. And so the conclusion is important because it's the wrap-up of your essay. It summarizes your essay and your argument. So if you want to hit a band mark 6 at least or above, then you must include your conclusion. And if you forget the conclusion, you won't be getting a good mark in IELTS. So in terms of coherence and cohesion, the conclusion is absolutely essential. So what is the purpose of the conclusion? The conclusion reinforces the main idea of your essay. So reinforces the main idea, and also the conclusion answers the question. So for example, if in your essay you agree that the government should help people buy houses, then you need to reformulate that idea in the conclusion. Of course, you're not going to use the same words, the same expressions, but you will be paraphrasing it in the last part of the essay. Okay, so that's the main idea of the conclusion. Let's talk a little bit now about lexical resource and the language that you'll be using in the conclusion, because there seems to be a little bit of confusion over the language to use in this essay, this type of essay. So I would recommend that in the beginning of your conclusion to write "to conclude." So this is the most appropriate linker that you can use, and also in conclusion. So either of these linkers is good. They both work because they are formal and they are appropriate for the IELTS writing task 2. I often see students using the word finally. However, finally is not appropriate because finally is a linker that you use when you want to present the last item in a list, like in a main body paragraph. However, it's not a conclusive linker, so therefore this is not the good word to use. And I also see used a lot by my students the expression "in a nutshell" or "in brief." And I would advise you not to use these expressions because in a nutshell, it's a little bit too casual for an IELTS essay. So it's more really an expression that we use in conversation. So don't use it. So we can forget about those expressions that you sometimes see. And just stick to a conclusion or to conclude, because that will help you to get the marks that you're looking for in writing task 2. Okay, so let's talk now about a technique that you can use to help you to improve your marks in the conclusion part of your essay. So we're going to talk about a 3-point plan. So the first point is what we've already covered, is to use the good linker to conclude, or in conclusion. All right, so that's how we start our conclusion. The second point is to summarize the main idea of your essay. So number 2, you're going to summarize your main idea. And then point number 3, you're going to use synonyms and paraphrase. So synonyms and paraphrase. So as I spoke earlier, you're basically summing up your main idea, your main argument, and you're using it with synonyms, with paraphrase. So again, as we spoke earlier, having a good range of language so that you have new words to use for expressions you've already used is very, very useful. Okay, so let's move on now to a real example that could be used for 3 types of essays. So we're looking at problem solution, advantages and disadvantages, and agree and disagree.
Okay, so just to review the 3-point plan for writing a conclusion. So first, number 1, use the expression to conclude or in conclusion. 2, summarize the main point of the essay as outlined in the main paragraph. And 3, use paraphrase or synonyms. So let's take a look now at an example of a problem solution essay. So today, the quality of life in large cities is decreasing. Discuss the causes and solutions. So this is an essay that we worked on earlier in a previous video. We wrote the introduction and we also wrote the main body paragraphs. And this is what we wrote. In the essay, I've discussed how I believe that there are 2 causes for problems in cities and that there are 2 solutions. So let's take a look in more detail at what those causes are. So the causes of the problems in large cities is the growing population, more competition, and 2, more pollution. The 2 solutions that I've presented are to provide housing outside the city and to stop cars from entering the city. So those are the main ideas, the main issues, and the main solutions to problems in large cities. So I need to put all that information into my conclusion in a very summarized and a very succinct way, right? So I've used the linker in conclusion. While there are many problems in cities, such as intense competition and pollution, construction of housing in other areas and reorganization of transport could resolve these serious issues. So what I've done is I've basically countered the causes of problems with the solutions using the word while. Another word that I could use here is whereas. So that's basically it. I've summarized those 2 pointers with while, and I've used my nice linker in conclusion. Okay, so let's take a look at another example. We're looking now for a conclusion for advantages, disadvantages essay. The topic is ebooks. So in an earlier video, we looked at the advantages and the disadvantages of ebooks. So, some of the advantages are the convenience of ebooks, the cheap price, and we looked at the disadvantages, which was damage to the eyes and the fact that ebooks are not always easy to open on every device. So in my conclusion, I want to present both the advantages and disadvantages. I want to summarize that information, and also my final idea that in fact, I do believe that ebooks are good, even though there are disadvantages, because that's the main idea in my essay. So the advantage 1 is convenience. Advantage 2, it's less expensive than regular books. Disadvantage, ebooks could be damaging to the eyes and not always compatible with all devices. So let's summarize that up in our conclusion. So I've used a nice linker again. In conclusion, although there may be issues related to the compatibility of ebooks and their impact on eyes, the convenience and cost of ebooks clearly outweigh these drawbacks. So again, I have countered the problems with the solutions. So using the word although. So this is what we call in grammar an adverbial clause. So I'm presenting, I'm saying that even though I admit that there are problems with ebooks, however, I do believe that their convenience and cost still outweigh their drawbacks, their disadvantages. And note that I've used the word drawback instead of disadvantage. This is a synonym for disadvantage. So again, I'm trying to paraphrase the idea in the main body paragraphs because I don't want to use exactly the same words. I want to use some different words to make the conclusion sound different. That's it, everyone, on conclusions. Take a look at some templates and some examples online so that you get an idea of how to write them, to get some more ideas. But again, this technique works every time, using the linker, countering your main ideas together, and also, of course, expressing your main idea in the essay. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.